Smog. It's ruining cityscapes one carbon dioxide molecule at a time. 25% of Europe's greenhouse gas emissions come from buildings. The heating and cooling of our homes is responsible for over 440 million tons of carbon dioxide annually. Truthfully, the heating of our homes just isn't worth the sweat. Hello, I am your host, Mike Lake, and in today's preview, I will be talking with Grzegorz Maciaszek about SolHotAir, the creator of solar collectors to achieve higher efficiency of solar energy and significant reduction of CO2 emissions.
Innovation, resiliency, discovery. Join Mike Lake, President and CEO of Leading Cities, as we explore the technologies shaping the possibilities of our future with a preview of tomorrow.
Hello and welcome, Grzegorz. Thank you so much for joining us today on Preview of Tomorrow. And once again, of course, I want to thank all of our listeners and viewers. I'm so excited to introduce you to Grzegorz Maciaszek. He is the COO of SolHotAir, a company that enables efficient heat generation by converting solar energy into thermal energy by means of solar collectors. Now, Grzegorz, before we get into the complexities of what I just said.
Yeah, thank you, Matt, for introduction.
Yes, of course. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get involved in either SolHotAir or this industry as a whole?
Yeah, actually, because we believe that we have to put some brick into to make our planet more clean and more sustainable. So for me, actually, it's very important. I've got two kids, so I I would like to to leave some devices or some solutions to how to decrease or minimize our greenhouse emissions. So it's my personal thing, and on my way, like business way, I met the team of SolHotAir, like three passionate people, and especially the R&D director, which construct the solar heating collectors.
So, anybody who has heard me speak at an event or whatnot, or on this podcast when we're talking about greenhouse gas emissions, has heard me reference the fact that depending on which city we're talking about, always the number one and number two offenders when it comes to most greenhouse gas emissions is vehicles or buildings.
Yeah, buildings, exactly. We've got the new report from this month, actually European Union report, because we are from Europe. So now I've got pretty new report this report indicates that with like 25% of the Europe greenhouses emissions coming from buildings, actually. So for us, it's very important to to minimalize this effect. Sorry for.
No, and you're absolutely right. I mean, especially when you look to more historic cities like you find in Europe, what we're really talking about here is, retrofitting. There's a lot less new construction going on.
So especially with the new construction with office buildings, we would like to the decrease the heating costs. And of course, I could give you later an example of this kind of building. So we are decreasing cost, and also for the owners of the building. And this is more important things, because they are not only thinking about the CO2 emission, they are thinking about the costs. And the second one is the CO2 emission. It's a pretty big part of this building. So we are decreasing also the CO2 emission.
And as I understand it, when you add together home heating and cooling, we're really talking about over 440 million tons of carbon dioxide annually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a staggering amount just to keep our homes or places of work comfortable, whether warmer in the winter or cooler in the summer.
We need electricity and we need heat with like two types of energy. So people usually thinking about electricity and not thinking about the heat. Actually, mostly in this way that electricity it's enough for the living. It's not enough. We need the heat also.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And when you're talking about heat, we're really talking about nearly half of all energy consumption is
or more.
or more. Yeah, exactly.
It depends of the country. If the country got the like colder climate, they need more energy, and if they've got like warmer climate, they need the cooling energy. So it's a lot of energy. And for example, in Poland, in next year, we will the prices, the electricity and the heat energy will increase 30% because of the greenhouse emissions. So here in Europe, the cost of electricity and heating, are going very very high. So we are doing this.
So I want to talk a little bit about SolHotAir and the incredible work you're doing. But let's start by just explaining a little bit the technology.
Sure. We've got like two types of. Actually, the sun, every minute, sun is producing enough energy to satisfy all humanity for all year. So it's a lot of energy. So when we are thinking about the solar collectors, we're thinking about solar panels, photovoltaic panels, and another one is the solar heating collectors. And solar heating collectors, it's our area of the interest. So we've got different types. We are in the type of air solar heating collectors, and it works like this: that cold air flows into the collector, and into the collector, because of the sun and our technology, are warmed, and exactly warmed up the air. It's flowing out from the collector and flows into the building. So it's directly heated by the sun, and we are not using different source like some fluids. We are using only air.
And so that obviously creates a natural flow, I would assume. Yeah, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, because this technology is already known, you can see the airport in Toronto, and the whole wall is with these solar heating collectors, and many buildings, especially in Canada. But the problem is with the efficiency, and usually the efficiency is between 50 and 60%. In our collector, we've got efficiency of 83%, which is confirmed by Fraunhofer Institute in Austria. So our collectors got the highest efficiency all over the world. So that's why it's very efficient, and its return of the investment is pretty fast.
And so that's a key point here.
Yeah.
When we talk about smart cities, for instance, and I'm going to talk about it on the city scale for just a moment. One of the early and most pervasive use cases of a smart city solution are LED streetlights, and in large part because there was such a strong business case to be made for the installation of those lights. So what you're suggesting here, which is so important, is that because of this higher level of efficiency, the business case is that much stronger, which means it kind of clears the path a little bit more for implementation.
I will give you an example, because it's the best way to talk about it with an example. So example is office buildings, 25,000 square meters, which we are installing our installation, and the annually cost is 140,000 euro per year now at this moment. So it's going to increase, but at this moment.
And that was cost for what?
It's for heating costs, annually heating costs. So we can save annually about 45,000 euro per year with our installation. And it's pretty small installation because it is 300 collectors on the roof. why it's important, because the office building, they're usually the small roofs. You don't have enough space for installing the photovoltaics. It's too less space, but it's enough for us to generate enough air to put it into the HVAC systems. It's mean like heating, air conditioning, and all this ventilation systems into the building. So we are preheating air, and flowing into this preheated air will flows into the system of the building. That's why they can pay less bills for their heating. So it means they're using the small space on the roof of office building, and that's why the return of the investment is pretty high, because it's about 8, maybe 9 years. The life of this kind of installations is 25 years, so it's pretty fast.
So how big is a single unit?
It's a 2 square meter. It's like 2 meters high and 1 meter wide.
Got it. Okay. So talking about the product here a little bit more, once this is installed, it's basically supplying cooler or warmer air into the system. In fact, is it probably an oversimplification, but we can think of this almost as the air version of geothermal heating.
Yeah, similar, but it's the source is still air. So we are not using another source of energy, just air. We're just warming air into the collectors, and inside of the collector. Sorry.
So once this is installed, the user sees no difference whatsoever.
Yeah. So
I mean, in terms of comfort, I'm not. In terms of their energy bill, they're going to see a huge difference.
Yeah. But the installations, if we are talking about the building staff got their own installation. So we are just putting we are not changing whole installation. We are just decreasing the cost and emissions, the CO2 emissions, up to 40%. We cannot exchange all the building installation. We can only decrease the cost, because the sun it's not shining over time. So it means that we can use only the sunny days. So that's why we can only decrease the cost, but it's very valuable.
Well, I want to project now. This is a question I ask all our guests, but thinking into the future and imagining SolHotAir is basically on every rooftop. What does that mean? What does it mean to me, the user? What does it mean to the city I live in, or the planet as a whole?
The first of all, that you are not using if you want to have like sustainable building, you have to use different source of energy from the different installations. So you probably will use the heat pump, you will use our solar heating collectors and photovoltaic panels, and that's why you can have like fully sustainable building actually without costs. So it's like part of the sustainable buildings. Our technology is the part of this system, and we hope that the new building, and actually the European Union here in Europe, it works like this, that new buildings should be built with the whole installation, like photovoltaics and the heating collectors, and also with heat pumps, and it will, mostly whole buildings will decrease the carbon footprint very very high. So I think that in future we will use all buildings will have their own energy. They will produce energy, and probably will produce more energy than they need, because this like we have to know that the building area is still pretty big. So we got pretty big roofs, we have pretty big areas around the building, we have pretty big walls, for example, on the office building. We just need the technology, how to use this solar energy, the heat into the air, as we are talking about the heat pumps. So we should use also the wind. So probably the building can generate more energy than we need, and I hope it will. And in this way, will look like our future, because we have to stop the use the fossil fuels, and this is our goal.
Well, I couldn't agree with that goal anymore. I mean, our whole planet is at stake on that one.
Yeah. Today
So-
I heard this new report about how looks our planet and how the condition is our planet, and it's not fantastic. It's not
Right.
not fun. So we have to do it very fast, and we have to change the source of heating in our buildings, so source of energy in our buildings, and we have to do it using whole technology what we've got. So we are part of this technology.
Well, Grzegorz, I mean, you're doing an incredible job. We're delighted to share with the world your story and the work that SolHotAir is doing. But if anybody wants to learn more or get in contact, what's the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, it's best way to contact me. I'm Grzegorz Maciaszek. I know that it's hard to pronounce. I'm Polish, so I have different strange names. But you can find me on SolHotAir.com. SolHotAir.com. It's our web page, so you can fill the contacts. And also you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can find me on Facebook. We are also in the media, so it's easy to find us.
Terrific. Well, I'm very much looking forward to following your continued success, and I thank you so much for joining us today on Preview of Tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for the interview.
And thank you for tuning in to this episode of Preview of Tomorrow. Listeners like you are essential to advancing our efforts to drive resiliency and sustainability for all. I ask that you give us a rating on Apple Podcasts or whichever streaming platform you prefer. Your feedback helps us to grow and share these brief previews of what life in the future can be. In addition to thanking our guest today, I want to thank Peter Roy and Demetria Bridges for making this podcast possible. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and encourage others to also join us each week in previewing the possibilities of tomorrow.
Preview of Tomorrow is brought to you by Leading Cities, a global nonprofit driving resilience and sustainability for all by unleashing the potential of the world's cities. Join them at leadingcities.org.